Hey, Friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to the Steve and Larson Pro Wrestling Podcast, formerly known as the Going in Raw Podcast. Once again, at some point, we'll probably be, once again, known as the Going in Raw Podcast. We've had a couple people in the comments, I've noticed, over the past couple weeks. One or two here, people who have missed out on key episodes, apparently. Not completionists of the show, apparently, Larson. The kind of viewers that we like, hey, $2 more, nice. I needed $5 for Bama's field trip. Now I have it. And they've been like, wait, did I miss something? I thought, is this still the Going in Raw podcast?
The way I see it, this is just a gradual move to phase all the Going in Raw stuff out. That's what it feels like at this point.
So again, I'll reiterate this before we leap into a packed, loaded. Like, if there's any day I shouldn't be doing this, it's today. But like when Cena became champion and he dialed down his graphics, I was in the middle of a graphics sort of repackage because a lot of the stuff up here, it had been around for a while. And I was like, I want to freshen this up, make it a bit more current. And I just didn't find the time to do it. And so I was like, oh, hey, here's an opportunity for a stopgap thing. So much like John Cena's Tron, it's all Arial black against a black background. And, I was like, oh, it'd be kind of funny if we just started calling ourselves Steve and Larson Pro Wrestling Podcast. And then like something kind of unexpected happened. Like we got so many compliments on the rebrand. It was like, okay, well, something that was only going to be for a very short period of time, we'll extend it out to at least John Cena's title reign. So when he loses the title, maybe we'll go back. Maybe we'll turn into something else. I don't know.
But by that point, it'll be somewhere between 4 and, I don't know, how much time's left in the year? 8 months?
Yeah.
At that point, people might be used to it.
The little graphic on our YouTube channel still is the shield that says Going in Raw. We still have Going in Raw, like when I do thumbnails and I put like the branding on it, it still says Going in Raw. Just, look, it's just a name. It's just a silly, meta thing on rebranding, I guess. You can consider it. So there it is. Still the exact same show, just a little less obnoxious in the graphics department.
There we go. Let's get to the news because we got a lot to get through.
Okay.
I know a lot of people are excited about Money in the Bank, specifically the prospect of John Cena maybe having a match against CM Punk 14 years after their classic at Money in the Bank 2011. So, of course, once John Cena announced his retirement tour, immediately speculation was, well, is he going to have one final confrontation with Punk and now with Money in the Bank on the horizon? And they thought that PLE would be the ideal show for another match. But according to PW Insider, guess what? Not going to happen. Sites reporting that sources within WWE have told them that Punk versus Cena is not the creative direction for Money in the Bank, but it seems like it's a match we might get at some point in 2025, with one source telling PW Insider that the bout could happen, quote, later this year when the timing is right. Let's take a break here before we get to the rest of this particular story. Obviously, CM Punk in the middle of a thing with Seth Rollins. It'd be kind of weird for him just to kind of like divert his attention to the title. Let's say it's unprecedented. It just takes like a match or something to motivate it. But you would think, though, the finish of that match would be pretty obvious. Seth cost Punk the title.
Yeah.
So I understand the idea that if they're putting stories above, let's be honest, nostalgia, then this makes sense. I understand people associate so much of Money in the Bank with Cena and Punk's match in 2011. I get it. It's highly regarded for a reason.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if they have another venue, another show, which they think would be a better place for it, so be it.
Well, kind of more importantly, I think, is the timing of the stories lining up right. Dude, you can have a thing in Chicago, which would be ideal. You can have a thing that has a significance in terms of nostalgia, the memory of Money in the Bank being the pay-per-view, which kind of just sort of coincided with CM Punk's story at the time. If they had pulled the trigger on that particular story, if things had lined up, because prior to that he was injured, and then he came back and he led the new Nexus, and that sort of bled into his title shot with John Cena. But like, if that had sort of lined up, if he hadn't been injured or if he had come back a little bit earlier, maybe we would have been looking at whatever, like, the February or March or May pay-per-view would have been around the time. Or if he had come back a little bit later, maybe we'd be looking at a later pay-per-view, a SummerSlam perhaps. So the fact that it was at Money in the Bank is kind of like, just happenstance for the time. There was nothing about it being Money in the Bank necessarily. So that's kind of should be, I think, the least consideration there is. There's not like an anniversary date either. It was 2011, so it was 14 years ago.
14 years ago in June or July, I think.
Right. So who cares about that? The story is the thing that matters the most. If you can ideally find an organic way to get him from this Seth Rollins business over to John Cena, even if it's as simple, dude, as, well, he has Seth Rollins in a certain predicament, and Seth Rollins uses his Paul Heyman stroke to do what he was going to do to Sami Zayn and have him shipped over to SmackDown, which is a really silly, lazy way to do it. But the point is, there should be some cause and effect. There should be, some amount of what happens here affects the reason why he ends up in a position to face John Cena, as opposed to just, hey, Money in the Bank's coming up. Let me take a detour from this incredibly important story, or this incredibly organic story that they're telling coming out of WrestleMania. Yeah, do it in a way where it's like, oh man, you're really getting us invested in the characters and the story, not what the name of the pay-per-view is or premium live event is. That being said, and we did this the other day where we looked at the premium live event schedule. Unless they whip up a new one, there's not a lot of room for them to go to Chicago for this, which honestly would be so ideal because of just the absolute nuclear heat. But that's not to say they can't concoct one, down the line. Maybe there's a Saturday night's main event that hasn't been, venue hasn't been reached for. Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, look, I and barring injuries, this match is going to happen. Let it happen in its own organic way, according to creative.
Yeah. All right. So what's John Cena going to do at Money in the Bank? So PW Insider may have our answer for that too, because they added in their report that Travis Scott would be available for Money in the Bank, and that pitches have been made for him and Cena to team up either as a 2-man tag team or as part of a 6-man tag match at Money in the Bank. So who could their opponents be, Steve? Well, let's think about it. Given what happened in Elimination Chamber, what happened at WrestleMania this year, Cody Rhodes. Whoa! Makes a lot of sense. WrestleVotes reported.
Hey, wait a second.
What?
That wasn't a real question. That was a question in the notes.
That was a setup.
Because you had something prepared for afterwards.
I did. You have the notes in front of you. You can read it too.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
If I started to answer, would you have cut me off and continued on?
No, I would have listened to your answer and then poo-pooed it. Braun Breaker, get out of here.
Yeah.
No. So WrestleVotes on Sportskeeda Q&A reported that Cody is currently scheduled to be at Money in the Bank, saying the following, quote, I do believe, this is WrestleVotes talking, not Larson. I do believe he's still scheduled to be a part of the Money in the Bank show. Don't know if he's wrestling. Don't know if that's when his return will happen. But as far as I know, he will be in Los Angeles for that PLE. So we getting Cody and Bad Bunny versus Travis Scott and John Cena?
Hope not. I don't have a desire to see Travis Scott wrestling. I don't. We're going to talk a little bit later about Kenny Omega fantasy booking Mr. Beast and Logan Paul in a match. But the reception was so, man, here's the thing. This is the thing about celebrities getting involved. You gotta really put in, you gotta do the legwork first. And when I mean legwork, I don't even necessarily mean strictly pro wrestling training. It's like when you look at the Bad Bunny integration into WWE, it was actually really effectively done from the standpoint of, the very first thing we saw him do in WWE was sing his Booker T song, which if you make a song called Booker T, you're a fan. This guy knows his shit. This guy was probably watching some WCW back when he was a little tiny, Bad Bunny. But and then eventually, you see the guy do some crazy shit, during Thunderdome era. I think he like came off the top rope or did like a plancha. I don't know what it was. Anyways.
Well, then his match with Damian Priest was
and then
awesome.
And then of course, it led to the Damian Priest stuff. Yeah, absolutely. But there was a lot of groundwork laid there.
There was. But I think what you're getting at is not only does Bad Bunny know how to do the moves, he knows how to enhance the drama and tell the story.
And they did that over a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And they have done nothing. And I'm not opposed to them trying the same thing with Travis Scott, but so far it's been I'll say 1 for 3, because on one hand he accompanied Jey Uso while I guess smoking a blunt on the Netflix thing, and that was a positive. But then the Elimination Chamber appearance was pretty panned. And then his WrestleMania appearance was widely, almost universally panned. And it hasn't engendered any, a goodwill with the fan base. And even if you're going to be a bad guy, you kind of need, like, for the audience to accept you as part of the story, you got to engender some goodwill with the fan base, even if you're going to be a bad guy. And I'll say this, dude, and you and I are on the same page in terms of, like, we don't care to see the dude on our television, but, like, and you can talk about maybe, like, his fundamentals or his ability to carry a match, but they integrated Logan Paul in an incredibly effective way into the WWE ecosphere, if you will. And, and it's clear the guy, he can hang in matches. He might not be able to sit down and put together one, but he can hella hang in matches. And he can drop a good promo. He's very comfortable out there as a superstar. And I don't want to see the guy, but you can't deny that shit. Like, they have successfully integrated him into it. And so I don't know, when you look at where John Cena is as a character and where Logan Paul is as a character, I kind of see, although I think Logan Paul has a good chance to win Money in the Bank this year, I could see John Cena, Logan Paul. It's like, okay, that's a match that, like, as a guy who enjoys the product, it's like, okay, well, Logan Paul has been effectively integrated into the ecosphere. I'm cool with that. Like, okay, I'll watch that. Not my favorite thing in the world, but I'll watch that. And then Cody and whoever can get their dudes. But, like, I don't know. I got to watch Travis Scott come out there and show me that he's been training. That's like the extent of so far what I'm going to get out of him is from a character. He hasn't dropped a promo. He hasn't done kind of anything except held up his kind of cool looking hardcore title. So I don't know.
I mean, I guess it wouldn't surprise me if this were the premium live event for a match such as this to happen, because the show itself can be sold on the Money in the Bank ladder matches. They don't need a title defense from Cena at this show. And maybe that's what the thinking is, well, we got 2 ladder matches, which are going to dictate a lot of what we do going forward, depending on who wins the briefcases in whatever title scene they choose to kind of tease the cash-ins happening in. So if they want to have this match that they think could propel the story between Cena and Cody heading into SummerSlam, if that's where the next title match is going to take place, I mean, yeah, they got a lot of work to do in terms of building it up to get the fan interest in the match where they probably want it to be. And I wonder, too, how much media exposure they're getting, or they think they're going to get by booking this match on this show. Because I would think more than anything, that's probably why they're doing it.
Yeah. I find it difficult to believe they'd be doing it for any other reason. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, you get Travis Scott has an immense following, you get his fans, and then of course, like you mentioned, you get on Entertainment Tonight or whatever they do these days. I don't know what it is.
Access Hollywood. I don't know if those shows are even on anymore.
I think it's all just. I think they are, but I think it's all just they care about the social media stuff. That's where So, I mean, yeah, I think you're right in terms of I'm still going to really enjoy Money in the Bank because of the Money in the Bank stuff. And I'm sure there's going to be other good matches on the show. Mm-hmm. But, this is going to be, they've got such great momentum with Cena right now. Money in the Bank is 3 weeks away.
Yeah.
Like, and there's been no hint of, and I'm sure, is Cena scheduled for this week or no, for SmackDown?
No, I don't believe so.
So, like, I don't know when when are they going to set this thing up?
Yeah, how are they going to build to this? And that's the thing is if Cody comes back, let's say he comes back at the end of Saturday night's main event next weekend after Cena beats R-Truth.
Yeah.
And he starts issuing challenges to John Cena. I want my title shot. I want my rematch. And Cena's like, no. And so they basically have, a week, maybe a week and a half to book the match, build up the story. And we need to have a better sense of what the dynamic is between John Cena and Travis Scott, because right now we don't have much.
No, we don't. And okay, well, let me ask this: could it be? This is silly. Yeah, dude, I don't know. Like, okay, so Cody's supposed to be there at Money in the Bank. Do you think he's not going to show up beforehand?
Well, if he's in this tag match, he kind of has to.
He has to, right?
This is why I thought that the end of Saturday night's main event next weekend.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, let's talk about that. Maybe Cena and Travis Scott versus Cody and R-Truth. R-Truth has a rapper bona fides. I watched that John Cena video for I'm a Bad Man the other day. Mm-hmm. The one where he's like it's like an A-Team spoof.
Oh.
It's such a fun song. Cena was pretty decent as a rapper, dude.
I mean,
I'm bad man.
That match, I guess, is a possibility. I don't know how they'd approach it from a six-man tag point of view if it's Cena, Travis Scott, and who?
Who? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Against Cody. Say it's Cody and R-Truth, and who else?
Mm-hmm. Like, who's aligned with Cena these days?
Nobody.
Yeah, right.
Unless Dwayne's going to wrestle, which isn't going to happen.
Oh man, yeah. No, that's not going to happen.
So I don't know who else it would be. Yeah, I don't know.
Let me ask you this: besides Phil, let's say this report is bullshit.
Okay.
Who's another good like opponent for John Cena that would kind of make sense within the context of what's going on right now? You had R-Truth there at. You couldn't, like, Jimmy Uso's been the guy around R-Truth, but a Jimmy Uso Money in the Bank title match doesn't really seem.
Brother, that ain't happening, pal.
I'm just trying to think of names right now.
Look, I like him, Jim Uso, but
yeah, right.
That's not going to happen. Let's go to the SmackDown roster and see if
there's anybody that makes sense. You got Damian Priest out there.
Damian Priest.
He might be in the Money in the Bank match, though, although I feel like it's going to be him versus Drew in the qualifiers. We don't know anything about the qualifiers yet, do we?
No. Yeah.
It's pretty thin. I mean, LA Knight, you can try to speed run LA Knight really quick.
Maybe Orton's like, hey, you cheated to win. I want a rematch.
Jesus. Yeah, they need to set something
Tongaloa,
up.
I don't know.
They need to set something up, man. They got to set something up.
That's why I don't think he's going to defend the title. He's defending it, 2 weeks before at Saturday night's main event? I don't think he's defending the title at Money in the Bank because they're just going to book on the ladder matches selling the show.
He should just enter Money in the Bank.
He should. That'd be pretty fun.
Win Money in the Bank and retire it. Do that. Put it on ice for, whatever.
There we go. But Travis Scott has been training. Maybe they'll have an opportunity to work out the match in advance, and it'll be entertaining. It'll be good.
Yeah, if you put enough. Look, here's the thing: as we've seen in the past, when you have really low expectations for something, if they simply deliver, then cool, fine, right on. I kind of see us in the end just being like, well, that was ridiculous. But not necessarily being like, oh, that was horrible. Like, this was the worst match of all time.
Yeah, I would think at this point, given...
They can structure something that's entertaining.
Yeah, the media spotlight that could be on the match because of Travis Scott's involvement, I'm hard-pressed to believe they would do something that would run the risk of going poorly.
Is this going to be better than Jay Leno and versus Hogan and Karl Malone and DDP?
Yeah.
Okay, then there you go. We have our floor, ladies and gentlemen. The bar has been set for bad celebrity matches.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Hey, before we get to what the friendos want us to talk about in the world of news, some of y'all need to remember, by the way, I'm just going to say this for those of you who post in the thread where I'm like, hey, What news stories do you want us to talk about? Sometimes they just
emphasis on news stories, first of all.
One dude just said, "You guys talk about how great AEW has been lately."
Well, we're doing a Dynamite recap, so we will discuss our opinions on AEW's programming at that point.
Yeah. But yeah, for news stories. But no, hey, we're in the middle of May. We have this May predictions challenge going on right now, and there's still a lot of points out there to be had. I don't know. Are we okay with like the results of the Backlash one?
Oh, I still have to discuss things with Cody. I haven't done that yet.
Okay.
I'll get that. We'll get that taken care of before the next round of things.
Well, I'm just saying, like, is it possible that we're gonna have to throw that one out because we can
I think it's possible to make the necessary adjustments. So everything's
okay. And what about because you said something about your.
I guess I ain't winning this month.
No, you got to give yourself points. I mean, just do an honest, whatever.
Well, there's plenty of points left to be had, so I'll just go all out and try to win it.
We'll talk about it, but that's dumb. We'll talk about it. You're not going to go pointless when you submitted something and it just didn't record. Anyways, so we are in the middle of the May Backlash challenge. May Predictions Challenge, and on the line, of course, is this shirt. Where is it?
It's right here.
Cena
I have
merch, Friendo shop, Cena May predictions. Here we go. So Larson's going to hold it up to show you guys that it's real, but I also have a still of it right here. So this shirt we made back in 2011 for our trip to E3. We only made 4 of them. This is the only one that we know exists anymore. I don't know where the other ones went.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure mine probably ended up at a Goodwill or something. Or my 2 ended up at a Goodwill. Well, that's an XL, so one of those is probably that one's probably mine.
No, I think I wore my shirts much larger back then.
Oh, did you? Okay. And then we also have this Backlash Predictions font style St. Louis hat that you can see on the screen as well. So if you want to get involved in the May Predictions Challenge, there's still a lot of points left to be had. Potentially, like, you could come in with nothing and still win the entire thing. I still think that's a possibility. You're not going to do that, Larson. You participated. You're getting your points.
Hey, you're talking to someone who's won a Predictions Challenge before. Don't count me out.
I mean, dude, if you want a real challenge, walk into this with 0 points, but I don't think that's necessary. You submitted a form. So anyways, May Predictions Challenge is on and cracking. Click join right here, youtube.com/Steven Larson, or go to patreon.com/Steven Larson. Click on the Friendo Club setup there. Either way you do it is $5 a month. You get access to our old bonus episodes, maybe more to come, and then also the question threads for each of the shows. Let's go ahead and dive into what the Friendos want us to talk about in the world of pro wrestling news.
What is the segment called, Steve?
I hate doing this because I think Sean Ross Sapp at Fightful had like a weekly show where he answers questions. But this is a segment, not a whole show. So, what do you want to... That's what it is. Yeah, I was trying to think of a way to call it, yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
So there you go. We can do this. It's time for the yeah, I mean segment. So first up, Ty Moore asked us to talk about the whole Joey Janela Sabu's last match situation. This is a pretty heavy one because obviously Sabu just passed away at the age of 60, a really young age to have passed away from.
Yeah. And
there was a bit of controversy given that Joey Janela had given an interview on a podcast called Uncrowned.
So my understanding of the timeline is Janela had the match with Sabu, which is supposed to be Sabu's last match.
Yep.
And then shortly after the match, he did this interview.
Yeah.
But then that interview wasn't released until after Sabu passed away, correct?
I don't know about the release. Okay, so an interview was released on Monday, May 12th, which, yes, I think it was announced that he passed, I think, like the day before that or something. Wasn't it this past weekend?
I thought so.
Okay. In any event, he gave this interview where he talks about the events leading up to the show. And these are the quotes here in Cultaholic transcribed.
Sorry, to interject, May 11th. Yeah.
These quotes. Okay, so it was the day before. Okay.
Yeah.
So he says, I was fairly confident he was fine. I was kept in contact with him, and he has a team of people around him. They were all saying that he was ready to go, that he was going to the gym. He was on a training program. I believed them until the day of the show. Then 2 hours before, I get a call. Sabu can't walk. Well, what do you mean he can't walk? They said, yeah, Sabu, something with his knee. They're locked up. He can't walk, and his feet are bleeding. He's not coming. Sabu's not coming. I said Sabu's fucked, so we talked to Matt Tremont. Tremont's about to be the replacement for the match. He talks about the disappointment of that, and 2,000 people are there. He says, we're an hour into the show, and I said, just get Sabu here. So they gave him something called, and I think I'm pronouncing this right, kratom. You can buy it at a smoke shop or something. It's like a legal opiate or something. They said he's hopping on the bed, he's hopping off the bed, and we're going to get him to the show. So he shows up 2 hours into the show. He was on a different fucking planet. Everyone in the backstage was like, what the fuck? Is this match going to happen? And my God, it did happen. He says he later claimed that he was knocked out after he fell out of the ring with a barbed wire board minutes into the match. He says he was definitely out cold. He was done. They were telling me there was no way. The refs were communicating to me that there was no way he's continuing this match. Like, holy shit, that is the one time you want the barbed wire to stop you. He just blew right through it. And then the Sandman came out, and that was all Sabu needed. Then the resurrection happened. Jesus resurrected 2 days later. He was ready to go again. I guess that concussion knocked him back in 1996 or something. I don't know. So there's plenty of backlash to this, obviously, because he's talking about this on a show that he recorded before he passed. And then after he passed, it was released. And, it was like, oh, wow, this doesn't seem terribly healthy. And this might have led to, And so Joey Janela responded to the backlash to this interview on X. And he says, I'm truly devastated over this, and the whole deal has really affected me. Kratom is something Sabu took daily for years. It helped him get off other substances. Sabu loved his weed, and Kratom, his body was wrecked doing what he loved for 40 years. I did an interview for that article 2 days after the match, not knowing what would transpire weeks later, and I said he was knocked out after that spot when, despite being a rough deal, he was not that. I was just trying to add to the lore and unpredictability of Sabu. I loved Sabu. He was legitimately my idol growing up and my friend. I just wanted to give him and the fans one last great Sabu spectacle. I'm sorry for lashing out at you, because I think this is a quote tweet or a response anyways. I'm sorry for lashing out at you, but your tweet caused a snowball effect that has many people saying I was in part responsible for my friend's death. Sabu was fine after the day after, signed at WrestleCon, and has been doing many appearances since. I don't know what the cause of death. All I can say is I wouldn't change a thing, and happy he went out on top. GCW's Brett Lauderdale also responded. Says, as a rule, I try not to respond to every claim made on social media, but sometimes I need to speak up and get on the record. When I received word of Sabu's passing on Sunday, I was devastated. I've known Sabu personally for almost 20 years and have been in constant contact with him for the last 2 years. He says, we were friends and I cared about him and have had deep respect for him in the months leading up to the match. I told him repeatedly how much I believed in him and how excited I was for him to finally get his flowers and be celebrated the way he had earned and deserved. He was both nervous and excited, but determined to give the fans one last extreme performance to remember. Any suggestion that I or GCW or Joey forced him to do this match, supplied him with substances, or somehow caused his death is irresponsible, disingenuous, hurtful, and false. It's upsetting and discouraging to see people so eager to cast judgment without knowledge of the facts. I would never knowingly put someone who believed I was a danger to themselves or others in the ring, and my track record shows this to be true. I have pulled people in a public and painful manner from big matches before. Sometimes literal moments before a match was to begin, and I would do it again if I had to. I spoke to Sabu moments before the match, and he was Sabu. He was the same Sabu I had encountered in years past when I participated in his matches as a referee and later as a promoter. He was the same Sabu I met with the following day at WrestleCon, and the same Sabu that made multiple appearances on podcasts and at conventions in the weeks that followed. He lived a hard life both in and outside the ring. He says, while Sabu will live forever, Terry Brunk will not. And unfortunately, his time has finally come. It's sad. My heart goes out to his friends and family, and I join them in mourning his loss. It also says, this was reported by Fightful Select, that GCW were frustrated, embarrassed, and humiliated by Janela's interview, and Brett Lauderdale has spoken to Janela about the situation. This is a really tough situation for them to be going through. And yes, people pile on because on one hand, I feel like they really want to pile on, But I think there's another subset of people who just really love Sabu and see the situation and see the timeline and see what Joey had said. And I don't think it's out of pocket for them to come to the conclusion that there was something irresponsible going on. When Joey backtracks and says, hey, I was just add to his lore, I can also understand this. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's simply an unfortunate situation for kind of all parties involved.
Yeah.
And honestly, without knowing or being there, it's also very difficult to understand if there was anything or anyone that was acting in an irresponsible way. I'm not casting blame, or I'm not saying anybody's in the clear. It's just we're two dudes who are on the outside looking in like everybody else.
Yep.
This match happened WrestleMania weekend, which was April 19th, 20th. And he passed on, less than a month later, but still weeks and weeks later.
Yeah.
So I don't know the ins and outs of his health situation. If Brett Lauderdale says, hey, I've pulled people in the past that I suspected could not handle something, then you got to take him for that. You got to take him at his word for that. Mm-hmm. It's just an unfortunate situation.
It is.
That I don't even think they've released like the details of his cause of death at this point.
Not that I'm aware of either, no.
So for people to cast judgment before that, I would think you would at least wait for a little bit more. But I can understand how emotions and feelings would be running high in this situation. And so, yeah, but I mean, I don't know, man, it is, I can also understand the frustration of a dude doing an interview where he's like, yeah, this guy couldn't walk right before the match. And then, we loaded him up on some stuff and then he went out and performed and he was knocked out.
Well, Joey specified that it wasn't him or anybody associated with GCW that got him the Kratom stuff. It was Sabu's people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. Like I said, it's just a really unfortunate situation. And yeah, I mean, I'm always the type, you guys know how we are with like even people in their athletic prime doing shit. Like when you see Leon Slater doing the big TNA spot where, it's, you got 180 pounds or whatever he is coming hot from really high up. And you see, half some of the dudes trying to catch him are like, shit. And then AJ Francis, thank God, puts his hand out so at least breaks some of the fall.
Yeah. Yeah.
You cringe at stuff like that. But these people put their lives in Sabu. Let me put it this way. I would think that Sabu himself probably had no regrets after doing this match. I don't know the guy, but he strikes me as the kind of guy I'd be like, that's a badass way to retire.
Mm-hmm.
He just strikes me as that guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then to die a couple weeks later after having such a kick-ass match, in front of people who are really into it. I'm sure there's plenty of wrestlers who'd be like, yeah, that's a great way to go out. I don't know, man. It's a shit situation. And yeah, maybe spilling those kind of details or even exaggerating those details to add to the lore, man, that's just maybe a lesson learned. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be. Yeah, it's an unfortunate situation, and it's yeah, you might be right about trying to embellish maybe to enhance the lore in hindsight. Probably not the best idea.
Joker Smiley here wants to talk about Javon Evans calling Tony Khan a crackhead. In a little bit lighter news, there was some really funny shit talk between Ricochet and Javon Evans on social media last week.
Yeah.
Or this past weekend, I think it was. And I don't know, Javon Evans talking shit about the attendance was kind of rich to me because I'm like, bro, you're at the Performance Center.
Yeah.
You got the same 100 people in there every week. What are you talking about, dude? So I don't know, it was some funny shit talk. I guess there was some, deleted tweets there. wrestlers are wrestlers. I'm sure if Javon Evans ended up, being out of a job at WWE, AEW would snap him up in a second, and because the kid can go.
Yeah, he's fantastic. Yeah,
but we've seen shots fired between both companies, both sides of the rosters. But hey, I'm sure both rosters really love the fact that the other company exists because then they make more money because of it.
Exactly. Gives them some leverage when it comes to getting contracts and such.
Yeah. True World Order. Actually, we'll skip ahead to this one. AJ Otani says Tony Khan looking at Twitter mid-match and changing Minya Shirakawa's theme back to the original before the end of the match, yet can't manage their usual production issues. Well, he doesn't manage the production issues. He's not there.
People to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, they have production people to do that. But apparently he was responsible for getting on Twitter, seeing that there was a negative response to Mina Shirakawa's new theme song, and then changed it back. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you got to be more specific if you're going to talk about usual production issues. There's a whole team there doing television production.
Yeah, and it runs the gamut in terms of the issues that that occur on a regular basis on AEW programming. So
yeah. I mean, should they upgrade their production staff? Probably easier said than done.
Yeah,
I think they get their scrappy little show together, and we get the point.
Yeah.
I was laughing because I read this, I think, right around the time Okada got chased off by Speedball, and they missed
the very end of it. Yeah.
You just see a dude chasing off Okada. I'm like, is that a fan? Who is that?
Is that Speedball? Oh, it's Speedball.
And then the commentary is like, oh, that's Speedball chasing off Okada.
I know. It makes commentary do a little extra work when they miss stuff, because then they got to go through the process of explaining what happened when we get just a fraction of a second to catch stuff late.
I mean, sometimes AEW, they just throw so much shit at you, and like these cameras are like trying their damnedest to keep up with it.
You thought last night the end of Dynamite was bad in that regard. Just wait till Anarchy in the Arena at Double or Nothing.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of stuff missed. They're going to need like the entire, 8 screens of all the cameras on the thing at once, and it's going to be a mess.
Yeah.
But but no, I thought it was cool that he changed the theme song. That seems easy enough to do.
Yeah, he just call into the truck. Hey, go back to the old thing. King's Catalog here says Kenny Omega saying WWE is heading towards Logan Paul versus Mr. Beast as a WrestleMania main event.
Hey, if Mr. Beast can go, let's do it.
Is there going to be a moldy Lunchable for the winner?
Oh, they should get a dude in a moldy Lunchable outfit. Like, oh, look at that. He's got like the mold on the cheese. Yeah, I don't know. There've been a couple shots fired, from AEW wrestlers towards the old WWE.
Oh yeah,
lately.
Ospreay recently did another interview where he said that AEW smokes WWE when it comes to anything involving wrestling.
Yeah, that's cool. Right on. Yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah.
It's pretty funny, Kenny's joke here. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, it is, I guess. It's silly. It's just silly. You know who he did that interview with? Our old friend Adi Shankar.
Oh.
Yeah. He had a couple things to say. He was saying how he kind of misses being the elite, but he feels like people are too sensitive for content like that these days. He's like, we couldn't do that without getting in trouble now. And I'm like, I don't know. Dude, I have so dialed back, and it's like, I understand it because social media, obviously it exists. It's still a thing. And just because you and I have dialed back our usage, and I think to my benefit, I don't know about you.
Yeah, same.
But I get on Twitter in the morning just to get a feel for whatever conversations are happening out there. And if anybody has elected to follow us and have, engaged with us, I try to engage back. But it's not on my phone. I'm not on it endlessly. I've sort of like, I barely use Blue Sky again. I'll hop on if I'm sort of like bored. But I don't engage that much anymore in terms of social media. I got like the WrestleJuice subreddit going right now, where that's growing. There's like 2,000 people over there that, talk about wrestling, and I like that. But I understand that like there might be, the thing is like anything anybody does these days is just put under a microscope.
Oh yeah.
And it's picked apart. And it's like, you get on Twitter and you see people with the most disingenuous stuff. And I don't know what it's like to be like a Kenny Omega or a figure so kind of, so under the microscope that you get on social media and to see your name out there so often, that's got to mess with you.
Oh, yeah.
So I understand what he's saying in terms of like, hey, if we did these kind of shenanigans now, it'd be under a microscope and people would just pick it apart. I think people would probably in general really enjoy the return of like Kenny and the Bucks being the Elite again, because I think
so.
I think it had like a really positive effect back in the day. And I think you could do the same stuff. And I think the same people would just pick it apart. But I think the overwhelming audience would be like pretty positive about it.
Yeah,
so it's a shame that that's his outlook, but I'm not him. And I don't know what his experience is like. It's probably nerve wracking to go through.
Yeah,
that.
It probably is. I mean, being the Elite played such a huge role in building the Elite brand.
It did. Oh yeah. 1,000%. Yeah.
So I could see, I get his point, but
it's funny because a lot of like that there was a period of time there kind of pre-pandemic, like 2017 to 2020 kind of, where you saw that a lot more, where like wrestlers would nowadays I think wrestlers are a little bit more cautious about like back then you'd start up a YouTube channel or you'd start like a video series. And it's like people would just eat that stuff up. And you don't see that, in my opinion anyways, you don't see that quite as much anymore.
Yeah, that's
true.
Know?
And I'm kind of curious why that is. Did they find that it was too much of a headache? Was it a financial thing? Like, hey, I want to do this so I can make some more scratch. But then they started getting paid by AEW like decent money. So it's like, well, why bother putting in the extra effort? I'm building my brand on television. I don't need to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the reason.
That could be part of it too. And also, they've been doing that show for so long. It could, they had taken several breaks prior to kind of pulling the plug on it.
Oh, being the Elite specifically.
Yeah, and being the Elite specifically. Maybe it's a situation where it's like, well, we kind of tapped out what we have creatively for it for the time being. So,
well, in terms of like, what do you think about like other indie wrestlers not really seemingly indulging in that?
Well, I wonder if that's a lot. If the idea is a lot more saturated, so I think maybe the idea is like there's so much more wrestling content as a whole. Even when we got started doing this, full time in like 2016, there wasn't as many channels dedicated purely to pro wrestling content as there is now. And I'm sure the case that was the same when Being the Elite started, because they started that 2014 or something like that. I'm just pulling a year out of my head. I don't know for sure. But I think it was roughly around the same time that we started doing going.
It was like 2016 probably.
Okay.
I would think, but I'm pulling a year out of my ass too. 2014 just seems early.
It's probably, maybe it's a situation where it's harder to build the brand that way than it was roughly a decade ago.
That's not a bad point also, is that there is so much content out there that you're less likely to stand out if you start vlogging. And on top of that, so many, like, because of AEW, like, I think because of AEW's prominence now, and to a degree WWE's ID program, and just people being signed up a little bit quicker, I think.
Yeah, 2016 Being the Elite started.
Okay.
May of 2016.
There was like, I don't know, maybe less incentive for people to need to build their brands outside of a system. Maybe? I don't know. It is. I think you got some with the oversaturation of wrestling content, though. Then this last one here, Callum Kelly says Randy Orton versus Nick Aldis. Per WrestleVotes, seems likely for SummerSlam. You know what? Once Finn Balor gets that big 2025 push, maybe I'll believe WrestleVotes. How about that?
All right. There you go.
If they get this one right, I'll get back on the WrestleVotes band.
Well, Steve, here's the thing. We've been watching WWE programming. If we reported Randy Orton versus Nick Aldis is likely for SummerSlam, I think, we gathered that just by watching the programming.
It does sort of crack me up when some of these accounts pull a Captain Obvious and they're like, hey, it seems like they're building a rivalry between Finn Balor and Dom Mysterio. It's like, yeah, I know. We watched the show too. Meltzer does that shit too, where it's like, they're building for a match. Yeah, it's
He's
wrestling.
treated like news, but he's like, no, he's just watching the programming.
Yeah, he's just watching the show.
He's not getting any sort of insider information. He's just watching the show.
Like, I feel like WrestleVotes, they do get fed shit, but like sometimes the shit they get fed is so Captain Obvious. It's like they're doing this match. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I watched the show too, man.
Yeah.
Like, I understand you want to put out there what you get fed because you get fed stuff, and like we don't. But we kind of know these things already because we watch the show.
We watch the show.
Yeah. Anyways, let's talk. Now we're 45 minutes deep into the podcast,
Look at that.
man.
15 minutes for Dynamite, 15 minutes for NXT, and we're out of here. We're done for the day, Steve.
Hey, let's start the timer, man.
Start the timer. All right, let's talk Dynamite first.
Beach breaking.
So I guess the huge thing coming out of this is we're getting, as we suspected anyways, because they were setting it up for weeks, anarchy in the arena. We got some combination of Death Riders and the Elite taking on the Ops, Kenny, and Swerve.
You heard it right here from Friendo Votes.
There we go. Oh, Friendo and Gabe Kidd.
And Gabe Kidd. Oh, you know what? I think Gabe Kidd might be involved. I'm going to confirm it right now. Gabe Kidd's going to be at Anarchy.
There we go. So let me ask you this. When we saw this person with the hoodie on come out and slip the briefcase into the cage, who'd you think it was?
Man, I'll be honest with you. I had it like spoiled for me on social media. I was watching NBA playoffs last night.
So I watched it live. And
who'd you think it was?
So when the first glimpse you got was just dude with a beard, and he was talking, and I couldn't, I didn't hear the accent, obviously. But my first thought was, is that Bryan Danielson?
Okay.
Because you just get a real quick glimpse of who it was, and I saw, dude with beard, and I was like, well, it'd be weird.
Were you watching on your small monitor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah, okay.
It's like watching on a little broadcast monitor.
Oh, yeah.
The old ones, the old tiny ones.
Yeah.
Well, then the monitors themselves are huge, but the screens were tiny.
I mean, honestly, that's what commentary is privy to. They get little tiny monitors in the show. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, wouldn't it be wild if Excalibur was like, is that Danielson?
Well, that's why when you watch, if you see people doing commentary, they're always like this. They're always leaning forward. They got their headsets on, but they're always leaning forward so they can see their monitor.
Do I have my reading glasses around here? I don't know my reading glasses, but yeah, I got some reading glasses. I should put them on for that.
Because you can't just watch the ring because that's not what the camera's getting.
Yeah, I know.
You got to respond to what the camera's getting.
Yeah, because that's what people are watching at home. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. So we had this main event where Samoa Joe was challenging Mox for the AEW title. I don't know why Mox put on a figure 4 in the early stages of a cage match. Come on, Mox.
Because you got to climb the cage, dude.
No, AEW, you don't win by climbing the cage in AEW.
Oh, you're right.
It's like he hits a chop block.
But Mox climbed the cage late in the match.
Yeah, but he wouldn't have won that way. They don't do that way in AEW.
No, you're right. They don't do the escape. Yeah.
I think he was just escaping to escape because he didn't want to wrestle anymore.
It was WWE muscle memory for him.
Yeah.
He was like, I got to get out of here. And then he's like, you can't win that way.
But like later on when Mox is all busted open and bleeding all over the place and Joe's putting submission moves on him, then it's like, oh, that makes sense because Mox is beat shit.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Trying to wear him down. I get it. But like one chop block and a figure 4. I don't know why that stuck with me is massively irritating. Like, what are you doing in the middle of a cage match?
Well, dude, it's harder than look, I get it, man. It's harder to there's no escape. It's harder to do a muscle buster without legs.
He literally did a chop block and a figure 4 and never went back to the legs, Steve.
Well, maybe he was like, all right,
it wasn't part of a strategy. If it was part of a strategy.
Because he remembered escaping doesn't matter. Joe probably said, why are you doing that to me? Escaping, you can't escape to win.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
That's right. Good storytelling right there.
I don't know about that. That aside, I thought the main event was pretty solid.
Yeah, it was fun.
In the end, though, Gabe Kidd runs down to ringside, slides the briefcase into the cage, and Mox hits Joe with it to get the win. And then, so we have mayhem after this, just absolute mayhem. Mm-hmm. So we have Claudio out there, obviously Kidd. We have Yuta, we have Willow, we have Marina. I'm probably forgetting somebody. Huge brawl breaks out. Kenny comes down. He ducks a clothesline from Claudio and hits Wheeler with a V-trigger. Then slams Claudio into the barricade. Okada runs down and blasts Kenny in the gut and throws him in the ring. So, then the Young Bucks came out after Mox wins. Mm-hmm, They're about to shake hands, it looked like.
Yeah.
So Matt with him brought the remote to raise and lower the cage. So they put Kenny in the cage.
Very slowly do that, yeah.
Yeah. And so you get a quick shot of Speedball chasing Okada to the back. And they're beating the hell out of Kenny and Joe in the cage. Kenny eats an EVP trigger. Mox falls with the paradigm shift. And then Nick's choking Kenny with his coat when Swerve's music hits. So Swerve comes down, climbs up the cage, and lays out everybody with a Swerve stomp off the top of the cage.
That was sick. Yeah, that was crazy.
That was crazy. So Matt's there. He's trying to push the button to raise the cage as fast as possible.
Shout out to that crew for catching him right, because he gets right back up. And like, it's just, he does it and then he's up. Yeah. And that, like, if you think about it, man, he's coming down from a long way up.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Death Riders for catching him.
Exactly. So the cage eventually goes up. All the heels flee. Swerve gets a mic. Says, the last time I was in the city in a steel cage, I got my brains beat in by a steel chair and dropped on a cinder block. And you think, I might not want to ever step back in this city again, but here the hell I am. You think I fear anything? I am the fear.
Uh-oh.
I'm the most dangerous man in AEW. And he says, all right, Anarchy Arena, Double or Nothing.
That should be a really fun one. But yeah, man, they're going to miss a lot of spots.
Yeah. It's probably like the worst day of the year for AEW production.
They got probably AI working the director's booth there, you know?
I think so.
ChatGPT is sitting there in the director's chair, like, all right, camera 1, camera 5, camera 3.
They got a all elite artificial intelligence there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They gotta have a graphic for it. Tony Khan would put the graphic up.
Yeah.
All elite AI.
AI
is all elite.
AI all elite. Yeah, exactly. And it's just one of them Boston Dynamic robots trying to get to a door.
The shot of them running into the door jam.
Well, dude, now they got... Boy, there was one the other day I saw, man. This was terrifying. Like, some dude had like a human-looking, human-built robot or a human-formed robot.
Yeah.
Had like... it was like it had like a leash on. And it like started to move forward. And it looked like it got mad and started like grabbing at it. In like angry movements. It wasn't like, trying to get, it was like, get the fuck. I was like, what are you people doing?
Oh my gosh.
Stop doing this. Yeah, man. Dude, this is not a good place that we're going into.
No, it's not.
Anyways, Mina Shirakawa's back in AEW with 2 theme songs.
Yeah.
And
maybe the thing is that Tony Khan didn't go back to her old theme. Maybe she has an entrance theme and an exit theme.
Oh, yeah. The exit theme is her old theme, and her entrance theme is new theme. She's doing the phase in. She's got it's getting called up, like an NXT call up, like sort of overlapping a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, apparently he responded on X, on Twitter.
Right.
He was like, yeah, no, I took care of it. I'm like, you nerd, get back to work. What are you doing? Get off Twitter, man. What the hell?
Anyways, Tony Storm had another one of these Eliminator 4-way matches. And it was Mina, Azumi, and Sky Blue.
The returning Sky Blue.
Yeah, they're in Chicago, and that's where she's from. She got good response.
Mm-hmm.
In the end, Mina reverses Tony's small package into one of her own to get the win.
Yeah, this is hilarious, too, because they have like a face-off, and they like go to kiss, and they have to break up each other. They've got just that really silly dynamic from the Mariah May stuff.
They do. And this match was a lot of fun. There's a lot of really good stuff in this.
Yeah, this was really fun, yeah.
So now we're going to get Tony versus Mina at Double or Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the match, Mercedes lays out Azumi because she got the New Japan Strong Women's title, I think, at a 4-way match.
Oh.
Was
it like the San Jose show? Did that already happen? Resurgence?
Whatever the most recent one, yeah.
Okay.
I think it was a 4-way match that Azumi and Mina were both in.
Mm-hmm.
So Mercedes locks on the statement maker. Jamie Hayter runs down to break it up and then puts the statement maker of her own on Monet, looks for Haterade, but then security breaks that up.
Yes, it is correct. It was at Resurgence.
To open the show, we had Ospreay and Hangman teaming up against Josh Alexander and Takeshita. This is a really fun match. A lot of this was kind of the typical Page Ospreay, can they coexist stuff?
Mm-hmm.
But I thought the bit where they almost hit each other with their finishers was actually pretty well done. It was really well executed.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was really cool. Ospreay when he almost hits the hidden blade, and it's just like an inch away from Hangman's, and they just hold it there.
Yeah.
It was cool. It was very John Wick-like,
It was. And in the end, their tag team finisher is amazing because it's a hidden blade buckshot combo, and they hit it at the same time.
You know, dude, if you're Josh Alexander, you got to be okay with that one because it's like the two most powerful finishers being hit.
It's
at
an automatic
the same
one of
time.
these, Steve. NL.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I don't care who you are. If you take that, you're taking that L right there, man. You're eating that pin. Yeah, that was a cool spot.
Yeah, it was a really fun opening tag match. After the match, Takeshita knees, I believe, Ospreay into Hangman, but it could have been the other way around. So Ospreay eventually comes back, hits a hidden blade on Alexander. That's 2 for the night for Josh.
Ooh.
I can't remember what move, but hits one on Takeshita. But then Paige gets back up and steps up to Ospreay like to help him. But then Ospreay turns around and blasts him, thinking it could have been Alexander.
Thinks he's the different dude, yeah.
Yeah, so they start arguing. Refs get between them, and then Ospreay rolls out of the ring.
This is going to be a hell of a match. Hey, I have the results here for that Resurgence show.
Ah.
Well, I just want to get your reaction to these.
Sure.
Just want to get your reaction to these. All right, first up. In the pre-show, CJ Tino defeated Alan Breeze via pinfall in a strong Survivor match.
Okay.
Do you know what that is?
Mm-mm.
Neither do I. Bea Priestley
made
her return. In the pre-show, defeated Viva Van.
Oh, okay.
Fred Rosser, the clone John Cena from back in the day. No Days Off. Defeated Matt Vandegrift via submission.
Okay.
TJP and Templario defeated Jarrell Nelson and Royce Isaacs to become the New Japan Strong Openweight Tag Champs. They have like so many tag champions there.
Yeah, they do.
OG Bullet Club, Carl Anderson, Doc Gallows, and the Young Bucks defeated the War Dogs. So they're doing the Bullet Club Civil War thing.
Oh, they're finally getting around to that, huh?
I guess so. Tomohiro Ishii is the Strong Openweight champion. He defeated Drilla Maloney. It's the best name in all of wrestling. Drilla Maloney. What a great
name. Wait, what was that for?
The Openweight title. It's the Goto title, which is ironic because Goto now has...
What title did Takeshita have last night then? He had a Never title last night. When he came to the ring.
Is the Strong Openweight Championship the same thing as the Never title?
No. It's the Strong Openweight.
Oh, right, Strong Openweight. Oh, my God.
Not the Never.
So many titles over there.
Tons of titles.
Konosuke Takeshita. The next match defeated El Phantasmo to retain the Never Openweight title. The Goto title. Speaking of which, Goto versus Zack Sabre Jr. for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship ended in a double pin.
Interesting.
And then Azumi defeated Mercedes Moné and Mina Shirakawa. So it was a triple threat to become the new Strong Women's Champion.
There we go.
So there you go. No idea if that was a stack situation or not.
Yeah. No, they said last night that Mercedes lost without getting pinned.
So not a stack situation.
No.
Now it's been confirmed. Good job.
Yeah. Zach Gowen made his return to the wrestling ring. Maybe he's been wrestling over these last years. I just don't know.
I think he has been. Yeah, I think he has been.
But he made his AEW debut against Ricochet. This match was a lot of fun.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. It was very comical. A lot of hope spots for Zach Gowen, which you love to see.
He had the upper hand, though, beginning of the match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ricochet running out of the ring.
Couldn't figure it out, yeah. This dude's been wrestling a lot. Well, his last match was late last year.
Oh, all right.
So
it's not like he's been out of the ring for 5 years or something like that.
No. He was wrestling very regularly. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 matches in 2024. Took a lot of 2023 off. Had a lot of matches in 2022 and 2021. So he's been wrestling regularly, yeah.
Okay. So Zach Gowen makes his AEW debut against Ricochet. Again, fun match. Ricochet gets the win with the Spirit Gun after Gowen kicked out of a 450 and Vertigo, I believe.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Or maybe he escaped Vertigo. So Ricochet then hits Gowen with another Spirit Gun after the bell. Hits him with like a running penalty kick, and then Mark Briscoe comes out to make the save.
I appreciate that you gave Mox tons of static about trying to put a figure 4 on Samoa Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't mention Ricochet trying to do the same against Zach Gowen here. That was the stupidest shit. I was like, okay, it's funny. I get it. Comedy for the lowbrow.
So apparently MJF is a member of Hurt Syndicate after last night, although there's a contract to be signed, and MVP seems somewhat wary about MJF having lawyer Mark Sterling look it over.
There's a contract still. He's not in yet, man.
Nope.
He's not in yet. He hasn't closed escrow yet, man. Those keys to the Hurt Syndicate are not his yet.
No.
I wonder, do you think that your prediction about Cedric Alexander is going to happen during the contract signing? Is he going to get through this contract signing, sign, seal, deliver as a member of Hurt Syndicate?
I'd be pretty surprised. Because they did this thing. Well, we'll get to it. So before all that, Hurt Syndicate has a tag title defense against Top Flight. So we get a Top Flight interview where Dante yells about MJF sticking his nose in their business, and Darius tells Hurt Syndicate that we want the tag titles. And we might be the underdogs here, but all it takes is 3 seconds. Then Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara walk in, and Dustin's like, yeah, we're going to be watching. Good luck. So then we get an MJF interview, and he says, I was champion for 406 days, and no matter how much the fans hated my guts, they had to admit that I was the greatest wrestler on earth. He says, I want to get back in the title scene, but the landscape has changed. He says, the roster is stacked. I don't want to wrestle unless I know I'm going to win. So if I get to be part of the Hurt Syndicate, I'll be unstoppable. And being a 2-time champion isn't just a possibility, it's an inevitability. MVP steps in and says, hey, after Hurt Syndicate's match tonight, it's imperative you come to the ring. And Lashley smiles and says, this is going to be fun. From this moment on, they're setting up MJF's going to get beat up.
Well, the thing that I like, too, is Renee asks him, so have you considered what had happened if they say no? And MJF's like, oh, shit, I haven't even considered that. And that's when they come in acting like they're going to beat the shit out of this guy. So we had Hurt Syndicate taking on Top Flight for the tag titles. Hurt Syndicate gets the win here with, what is it? So Shelton hits Darius with a super kick, and then Dante gets put in the Hurt Lock. He taps out. Hurt Syndicate gets the win. Bobby doesn't let go of the Hurt Lock. Dustin Rhodes, the Natural, and Sammy Guevara come out. I don't think their tag team has a name.
I think they're just Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara.
If they do, I'm not aware of it. Maybe chat can let us know what you guys think their name should be.
Hold on. I thought they did have
they have one?
Here, I'll look it up real quick.
All right. Anyways, they probably do have one. I don't watch Ring of Honor.
It's probably got the word natural in it.
I would imagine so. The Natural Spanish Gods, something like that. Isn't that what Sammy called himself, Spanish God?
Yeah, it did for a stretch.
Anyways, so Dustin's like, hey, I'm the last of my kind. Let go of that hold. Why don't you pick on someone your own size? And I'm looking at Dustin. I'm like, look, bro, I know you're tall, but nobody's Bobby's size.
They're called the Sons of Texas, Steve, because they're both from Texas.
Is it SUNS or SONS?
No, not like the star in the center of our solar system, no.
All right, so the Sons of Texas come out. I say, hey, pick on someone your own size. And I'm like, Bobby Lashley has got more muscle on his body. Like 5 Dustin Rhodes.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you ain't their size, man. Anyways, he's like, MVP's like, all right, listen, old man. He was like, we go back a long ways. He's like, I looked up to you when I was a little kid. He says, I respect you and your father, and I knew your dad pretty well. So because of that respect, I'm not going to have these 2 monsters leave you in a pool of your own blood right now. He's like, what do you want, Dustin? He's like, hey, look at these tag titles around our waist. You know what we want. I'm just saying, it's like, okay, so you want more tag titles. And then Crew shows up. And that's, of course, Action Andrade and Leo Rush. And they talk some shit to Sammy Dustin. Dustin's like, hey, don't you talk bad to your elder like that. You son of a bitch. And then Leo's like, we've been scouting the tag team competition. So, Bobby, what's up? How about we get a tag title shot? And Dustin's like, hey, you're not going to cut in line. You're going to learn to respect your elders. And then MVP's like, all right, shut up. I got business to attend to. You guys need to face each other on Collision. And then whoever comes out of that, you guys get us at Double or Nothing. You guys are going to get destroyed at Double or Nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and then he's like, and then he looks over, he's like, hey, there's a production guy over here telling us that we got 30 seconds left. So stay tuned, because when we come back, MJF is going to get what's coming in. It was a good throw to commercial.
It was a good throw. So we're back from commercial.
Hey, let me ask you something.
Sure.
You know what the Natural calls himself besides the Natural? It's written in huge letters on
like
his
last
shirt.
of his kind.
Last of my kind.
Yeah.
And it got me thinking, Larson. If you had a shirt for Larson that said the last of my kind, What would you mean? What would you be the last of your kind?
I don't know if I have an answer for that.
You're like, I am the same as everybody else my age. There's nothing unique about me. Yeah, I was trying to think of the same thing for myself. I'm like, yeah, no, man, I'm just another jabroni.
Yeah.
Anyways, So
MVP comes back from commercial, says, MJF, it's time to get out here. So MJF's music hits, but there's no MJF. So MVP goes to Shelton, goes, go backstage, find him. Well, he does find him, kind of like hiding behind Tony Khan at production headquarters.
Mm-hmm.
And so Shelton leads him to the ring. And MVP says, this is your moment of reckoning, so I hope you're ready, MJF. So he starts the vote. He says, as always, I'm a thumbs up. Shelton, thumbs up. So then Bobby smiles. He's relishing this moment.
Oh, yeah, big time.
He walks up to MJF and puts his arm around him, and he's teasing the thumbs up and teasing the thumbs down. Eventually...
Well, you see where Shelton is, too.
He's set up for a super kick behind him, yes.
Shelton's behind him setting up for a super kick.
And so Lashley eventually gives a thumbs up, and Shelton stops the super kick pose. And then MJF hugs Lashley, and then Lashley just chucks him off.
He doesn't just hug him. He comes running up into his arms. And I think that's what Bobby took issue with, because he throws him off. But then afterwards, like, Bobby raises his hand and he gives the thumbs up. Bobby's loving this legitimately. You can tell he's having a lot of fun with this, which makes it so much better. And then he gives him a hug and he doesn't throw him away.
Yeah. And MJF's leading the crowd in a "We Hurt People" chant.
Yeah.
And that's what MVP says. Next week on Dynamite will have the official contract signing. So then later on, we get an MJF and MVP interview backstage. And MJF is asked, how you feel? And he says, amazing. All I got to do is get my lawyer, Mark Sterling, to go over this contract. And MVP's like, what? Lawyer? So MJF calls Sterling over, and Sterling tries to shake hands with MVP, but MVP pushes Sterling's hand down with his cane and asks, what's up with the lawyer? And MJF says, you're a businessman. You'd never sign a contract with a lawyer without a lawyer looking over it, would you? And MVP says, all right, you're right. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's not worry about it now. Let's go celebrate.
Yeah, you can't do that. Can't do that.
So there's going to be something going on next week.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And then we also had we have a match coming up, FTR versus Nigel McGuinness and Daniel Garcia. So Tony is in the ring with Nigel. They run a video package showing like what happened with all this, how Nigel was like standing up for himself because FTR was giving him shit or whatever.
Yeah.
And then he's like, Nigel, I want to apologize. He says, Tony, I want to apologize for what I told you not to do. Get in the ring as an announcer. I want to apologize to Daniel Garcia too. So Garcia comes out to the ring. He's like, listen, I let my ego get the better of me. I got involved in your match and I cost you the winning purse. I realize mine at places the announce desk, not in the ring. It won't happen again. And Daniel's like, nah, Nigel. You can keep your apology to yourself. You did what you're supposed to do. FTR disrespected you and you stood up for yourself. FTR tried to end my career, Cope's career, and Nigel's career too. He says, I'll fight FTR with or without you, but it'd be an honor to fight FTR with you by my side. That brings out Stoke. Stokely says, FTR is not here tonight, but I'll speak on their behalf. What Nigel did was egregious. You almost broke Dax's jaw and separated Cash's shoulder. What the hell's your problem? Nigel's like, I'm sorry for putting my hands on FTR. Stokely says, the apology won't cut it. Stokely and FTR as a summit, and your punishment should be getting in the ring with FTR in an official match, because in that match, they can't be fined or suspended for what they do to you. And then Nigel says, you know what? That's why I don't want to wrestle with you guys, if I'm being honest. You're killers. And then Danny's like, hey, you know what? No. FTR might kill us, but I've watched you overcome your entire career, and I've overcome my entire career. He says, so let's give people Nigel and Danny versus FTR. Stokely says, you don't have to wrestle. You can continue being the Al Bundy of AEW behind commentary desk. He says, do you think you could beat FTR? He says, you barely beat hepatitis. FTR, yeah, that was a rough line. And then FTR attacks Nigel and Garcia from behind. Look for a double team pile driver on Nigel. Matt Menard runs to the ring with a crowbar to make the save.
Oh, this FTR heel turn just isn't clicking for me.
I liked back when Dax was being like he was supposed to. I liked the pre-heel turn.
Yeah.
When like it was obvious that it was coming, but it wasn't here yet.
Yeah.
That was my favorite version of Dax,
Like,
and they should have drawn that out.
Dax was, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was like, I like FTR. I like Stokely. Just, I don't know, them beating up commentators. What, like, it's.
Yeah, dude. I know. I think, like. I don't know. I think it's more a thing with, like. They're obviously just stalling. They don't have the tag division as like one good unit.
No.
That's like they have the talent for it, but they haven't like put the work into it. So instead of FTR going after the tag titles against the Hurt Syndicate, which you don't want to do because like who wins that match?
Yeah.
Instead of just sacking up and sort of doing that,
yeah,
they got this silliness. But you know, it's whatever. I like when Nigel gets in the ring. I think that's cool.
Yeah. No, I like Nigel too in that regard, but I don't know, just the build to it
you just know that FTR is going to win this, and there's no drama to it, and that's always a difficult hump to overcome. If you can be really entertaining with it, then maybe it's okay. But like, I don't know that this is like super entertaining stuff.
Yeah, like FTR going to Tony Schiavone and bullying him, like it's just not that interesting.
Yeah, now if it was disingenuous Dax, I'd be about it.
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah. Anyways, let's talk about NXT. We went about 21 minutes on that AEW review, man.
Well, that's close to 15.
All right. I like what they're doing with Miles Bourne over on NXT.
Yep.
I loved his opening promo. I thought it was awesome, man.
Yeah, it was really good.
No, I really like what they're doing with NXT, where do you wonder if Miles Bourne, if they're going to be calling this dude up soon, and that's why they're doing this now? Or is it just sort of something, hey, we think this guy's got a bright future, let's start breaking him out of the pack a little bit?
I would think that's more likely at this juncture because, you know, this is kind of like the first spotlight he's gotten as a solo singles wrestler.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty massive one, getting a title shot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, I thought in terms of his opening promo was awesome. You know, the match he had with Ethan Page was really good. Got the win there, beat a former champion.
I think one of my favorite things about the Paul Levesque era is the ability to allow certain people just to sort of be themselves. You know, Stephanie Becker I think she goes out there and she does what she can in English. You know, and I'm sure the English will improve, but she's not being held back by management because she can't cut a crisp English language promo, you know? And like, she just last night, or on Tuesday rather, you know, she was cutting her promo, stumbling a little bit, and then just launched into some Spanish. And it's like, we all get the point. Mm-hmm. There is no need. You don't need to speak in English necessarily, but she goes out there, she does what she can, but she's got that aura that is so crazy huge.
Yeah.
That management recognizes nobody's going to be wetting her.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's going to be doing that because she has everything, and allowing people to just be genuine and let them go out there and try and stumble a little bit. That's fine. That's endearing. People like that. People like that you're out there trying. Yeah. And Miles goes out there, and because of, you know, the hard of hearing stuff and the speech stuff, it's not a clean, crisp promo, but goddamn, this dude's heart is out there, and everybody loves that you can see how genuine he is.
Yeah.
And I love that, unlike the Vince McMahon, Kevin Dunn days, you can go out there and not have a crisp, you know, traditional promo and still succeed if you're just bringing everything you got to it.
Yeah, I think fans will respond to a heartfelt, passionate promo, regardless if it's perfectly delivered. Like, you have someone like Kevin Owens who regularly kind of steps over his words, but he has a really good way of working that into his delivery.
Yeah, right.
Or you have someone like Adam Cole who purposely kind of stumbles at times.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
You know, to make his promos come off as more natural.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's the content of the promo and the delivery so much as opposed to it's the content plus the emotion behind it, as opposed to
the emotion behind it. And it's like, we understand what the content is, you know, and it's like, you're just getting that across. Io is like the most popular person, or one of the most popular people on the roster right now.
Yeah.
And her promos are such a joy because her enthusiasm comes through.
Yep.
You know, and it's like, it doesn't. And under the other regime, that never would have happened. It never would have happened. And that's, I think, one of the biggest sort of improvements in the product is it allows for so much variety on your television, you know, and so many more stories on your television.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So Miles Bourne ends up putting up his title shot. He puts it on the line against Ethan Page in a match later on in the show. He gets the win there. And at the same time, you got Dempsey, who Bourne says, hey, why don't you have a match with him to prove that you're good enough to maybe compete for the title. And if you win, you know, I mean, of course, Opa shot this down. We can make it a triple threat at Battleground. Of course, Dempsey does not get the win. And we also had, you know, Ethan Page and Ricky Saints, their paths crossing again. So they're trying to build up. They're putting effort into building up the main event scene in NXT for the men's world title, which they desperately need to do.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, especially if, say, Trick's getting called up or Ethan Page is getting called up.
Yeah.
You know, they really need to start building up the main event scene. And having Miles Bourne get the win in that Battle Royal, having that great promo, getting a win over a former champion goes a long way in terms of elevating, because he's not going to win against Oba.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe it's a situation where, out of jealousy, Charlie Dempsey costs him the match, so it's a protected loss. But having him in that spot, giving him the opportunity to showcase what he can do is going to go a long way in terms of, in the fans' mind, saying, all right, Miles Bourne, we believe him as a main eventer now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and NXT needs to start doing that with a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess we can start with the head of the show, because we mentioned Miles' promo. So he comes to the ring, says he shocked the world last week winning the Battle Royal. He says, I was the last man standing. I'm going to Battleground. He says, I'm partially deaf, and that affects my speech. But last week when he won, he says, I heard you all going crazy. He says, I don't want to be known as the deaf kid. I want to be judged by my ability, not my disability. So at Battleground, I'm the underdog, but I'm fighting for all the kids fighting their own fight to prove that they can achieve success. He says, Oba, if you're listening, on May 25th, they're not giving me a shot, but I'm ready to shock the world again. He says, I may be hard of hearing, but at Battleground, I will hear Rome say, and new, but that's when he's interrupted by Ethan Page.
So yeah, he comes down. He's like, enough of this sentimental crap. He was like, he said, I'll say it slow so you can read my lips. You can't beat Oba. You want to prove to the people and yourself that you deserve that title shot. Put it on the line against me. And then Dempsey gets on the mic. He was like, you know, I got the match against Oba so Bourne can learn about Oba. Why not learn against a former NXT champion? You should do this. And meanwhile, Tavion and Ren Sinclair both like, don't do this. You don't need to do this. He was like, so, and also you can silence all your doubters. And Bourne's like, no, Dempsey's right. I accept your challenge. So Ava comes to ramp and she's like, look, man, I don't know if this is the right move for you, but I know you want to prove yourself. She was like, I'll book that match right now, but Dempsey, you have a match against Oba Femi. And then they have that match. Oba gets that win pretty easily with a power bomb. Later on, we have Ethan warming up backstage. Ricky Saint walks up to him, says, man, you're kind of heartless for ruining your moment, but you really like raining on people's parade, don't you? And he's like, yeah, I do. I get pleasure from that. You should know that by now. He says, I'm going to win the title and restore the balance in NXT, and you're going to go back to playing second fiddle to me. So later on, we have Bourne talking with Dempsey after his match, and Dempsey's fucking wrecked. He's destroyed. Yeah. He's like, dude, you're not in shape to be in ringside for my match. He was like, you need, and Dempsey's like, no, I can make it. And he starts to stumble over, and he's like, nah, go back to medical. I got this. He's like, nobody's taking that title match from me. And so the finish of that match, the Bourne versus Ethan Page match, Bourne escapes a twisted grin, hits a drop kick, and follows with a jackknife cover to get the win over Ethan Page. But then after the main event, at the very end of the show, the camera cuts backstage because there's a commotion, and Ethan Page has laid out Ricky Saints. earlier also Ricky Saints had said there was like a little thing backstage between Javon Evans and Ashanti Adonis. And the result of that is they're going to have a match to figure out who's going to be the new number one contender for Ricky's North American title. He says on the other side of Backlash, so I think that's going to be after
Battleground. Yeah, after Battleground.
I'm sorry, after Battleground. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, all these different things are
So we had a Trick Williams, Joe Hendry contract signing. They didn't do this in the ring.
I like
Ava's office.
I like this a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was much more understated than a lot of other typical contract signings.
The thing that I liked about this the most, dude, is we had Trick. If you look at Trick's character trajectory, or his path, I guess I should say, you had him from this cocky sidekick to Carmelo Hayes, who you could tell had all the potential in the world to be a cocky asshole, an arrogant top guy, right?
Yeah.
But they didn't go straight to that. They had him go face. He was much loved. They had him crash out. What we saw here when he said Hollywood Trick is kind of the original Trick, but with that main event aura.
Yeah.
I'm bigger than everybody here. And so we've got to see this entire... So now he's not crashing out Trick anymore. Now he's just arrogant Trick, but with the journey behind him to justify being a top guy in that mold. And in my mind, that's like, oh, that's like main roster ready Trick.
Yeah.
As a bad guy, as that original Trick. And so that's what I thought this segment here really was the first full bore indication of that version of Trick.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're sitting in Ava's office. Trick tells Joe, hey, you did this to yourself. You should have stayed in your sweet spot, but on next Sunday, they're going to Battleground, and that's my house. So Joe says, if anyone knows about breaking out, it's you, Trick. But somewhere along the way, Trick, you forgot about that. So they're arguing back and forth a bit. Ava tells him, sit down, be quiet, sign the contract. So Joe says TNA is the hottest it's been in years, and his goal is to make it the biggest brand it can be. He's defending against TNA and NXT, and I wrote that context is. Sometimes I write this in the wrong tense. So then Trick says this match is going to be important for him. He says, Joe, you're a social media star, but Trick's like, I've ascended past NXT. I'm Hollywood Trick now. He says, every man has their 15 minutes of fame except for me. He says, Sunday, I'm going to take your fame, I'm going to take your title, I'm going to take your brand. So he signs the deal. And then Joe says, no one is more confident than you, Trick. He says, you main evented Stand Deliver back-to-back years. So this isn't the biggest match of your career, but it is the most important. And he says, Trick, you got no path back to the NXT title. And after Sunday, when you lose, you won't have won the TNA title. And that's when the doubt creeps in just as fast as your star rose and come crashing back down. So Ava passes Hendry the contract. He signs it and leaves.
I have a question for you, Larson.
Sure.
Slammiversary is in July. Is it possible we're going to get a Trick Williams TNA title run between now and July? Slammiversary is like their big show of the year, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Is it possible that Trick is going to win?
I suppose it's possible. Maybe. I suppose it's possible. I don't know. Would be a situation where Hendry loses it only to get it back at Slammiversary?
Well, that's what I would think, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, TNA gets their... Or NXT gets their moment here on an NXT show, and then TNA gets their moment, the big... Because, like, selling Trick versus Joe Hendry as the rematch, that's like the biggest match you could do for Slammiversary for TNA.
You don't think they could build a huge match of Joe Hendry versus, say...
Come on, man. I could immediately when you start talking, you get that smile on your face. You have a terrible poker face. Werewolf Ed Edwards.
Well, no, I was going to say Werewolf Ed Edwards. I was going to say like the Brock Lesnar of TNA.
Hey!
Bully Ray.
Bully Ray showed up on NXT this week. That was awesome.
He did.
That was great. I mean, yeah, like having an NXT crossover for their biggest show, that gives them a lot of pay-per-view buys.
Yeah,
that they could, I know, probably could double if they had Bubba Ray on there. Bully Ray. I don't know.
So we had a tag match with Jordan Grace and Stephanie Vicaire teaming up. Can they coexist because they're facing each other at Battleground because Fatal Influence stepped up to Stephanie. And Jordan Grace comes out and says, I need to protect my title match and my investment. So I'm going to make sure, Stephanie, that you make it to Battleground 100%. And that leads to a tag match. That happens in the main event. Of course, Stephanie and Jordynne Grace get the win because Jordan headbutts Fallon out of the ring, hits JC with the back fist and beast mode to get the W. But there was one moment where Jordan saved Stephanie Vicaire from getting running knees.
Yeah.
She ate him.
Yeah.
Comes back and finishes the match, gets the win for their team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey, I usually don't like diving into like personal lives and stuff, but it looks like the latest rumor is Stephanie Vicaire is dating Miles Bourne.
Oh.
I know, right? Isn't that cute as hell?
Yeah.
They like posted an Instagram thing where like he met her family or something like that.
Oh.
I was like, what a sweet couple that is. I know. It's nice. I'll talk about it when it's nice stuff.
Yeah.
That's nice.
That is nice.
Anyways, oh man, I bet that's hot.
So Tony D he's found himself in a tight spot.
Oh boy, this guy's a mess right now.
He is a mess. So he takes an L to Wes Lee. So Wes Lee's faction with Tyson and Tyreek have a name now, the High Rise.
Yeah.
NXT needs a little work naming their factions.
The High Rise.
Except for No Quarter Catch Crew. I like that one.
And here's the thing. Yeah. Like the graphic for the High Rise, when they show their lower third, it's buildings. It's just skyscrapers.
Yeah.
It's a high rise.
That's what you think is going to be.
Yeah. What architectural theme would we be? What would our name be if it was architecturally themed? We could go vocational and be the slumlords.
Oh dear.
You better pay your rent on time.
I was going to say something more like the condemned building,
Industrial district.
Yeah, exactly.
Condemned
empty warehouse.
building.
I don't know.
Empty warehouse, yeah.
Dilapidated factory. How about that?
Right, yeah. Strip mall.
There we go. Empty strip mall. So Tony has a match against Wes Lee. Stax shows up on the Tron. Says, "Oh, I'm outside the safe house." This distracts Tony. Wes Lee hits a cardiac kick to get the win. And then after that, this is obviously something that was pre-recorded because they're playing Wes Lee's music. And he's celebrating his win as Stax starts talking. And I'm going to go pay Rizzo a visit. So Tony rushes out of the ring, goes backstage. He gets into an SUV, tells the driver, "Go to the safe house."
Go safe house.
So the car arrives at the safe house. Tony exits, says to the driver, "Get the rest of the boys." Because he's going to wants to bring the rest of his crew. So he walks up to the safe house and gets attacked instantly by Stax. Like, Tony's not, wary of his surroundings. He just gets laid out instantly. So Stax tells Tony, "I know every move you're going to make. You're not the only one around here with stroke. At Battleground, I'm going to finish the Don and put an end to the Angelo family once and for all." Yeah.
Was Rizzo at that safe house?
We never saw her there.
Right.
But I guess Tony from the Tron in that moment he was staring up there to get distracted from his match must have recognized the safe house. Otherwise he wouldn't have gone there, right?
But if what Stax is saying is true, why would Tony have put her in a safe house that's not safe? Because he's hiding her from Stax. Stax knows about this place.
Yeah, you'd think so. That's
why would he put her there? And if he didn't put her there, if he put her in a Stax-free safe house, like one that Stax didn't know about, why is he rushing there?
I guess because Stax isn't there, it's no longer a safe house.
Well, yeah, but is Rizzo there?
We don't know. Rizzo could be in league with Stax at this point.
Tony D is a mess. This whole story's a mess.
It really is. So, Tatum Paxley is very upset that her friend left NXT. And he referenced Gigi getting released, but so you got Carmen and Thea chatting backstage. They hear Tatum busting up all her stuff back there.
Yeah.
So Tatum tells Thea, he says, "You can't do anything alone, but I'm alone. And Thea, you're the worst kind because friends just leave you. They just betray you." So that leads to a match between Thea and Tatum. Thea's got the Kimura locked on, and then Tatum gouges Thea in the eyes in full view of the ref, and the ref calls for the DQ. And then afterwards, Tatum attacks Thea, and the refs come out. A bunch of refs come out to break it up.
Is Thea going to have an eye patch now? Because she was really going after that eye.
Yeah, Thea should.
She should.
For a few weeks. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So right after that, Jada Parker's watching that unfold backstage. And Sol Ruka. And Zarya are there too. So Kalani steps in, and she's like, Zarya, why'd you spear me through the barricade? Saul, were you upset because Saul caught me earlier? And Saul's like, I didn't know that was going to happen. And Zarya says, we don't have anything to apologize for. If you want to run it back, the results are going to be the same. And Kalani says, yeah, let's do that. But if I win, I get a North American title shot at Battleground. And Saul's like, cool with me.
Yeah. And then Zarya's like, what? Why'd you say that? And she's like, oh. And then we had Shawn Legacy, who evidently is the Brock Lesnar of Evolve.
Guess so.
Got on Twitter and did a promo. Why didn't he do this on Evolve? He calls out Javon Evans, says, and then Javon Evans called him a crackhead. Oh, wait, that was a different guy. Yeah. He said, it'd be an honor to face him. And then in the locker room, Ashante is like way like on the other side of the locker room. He's like, hey, why are you worried about that guy? He's beneath you. They're a bunch of indie trash. And Javon's like, nah, man, you know what? He's like, how about you just worry about your pickup lines? And Shanti's like, yeah, those indie guys don't deserve your time. And then Javon's like, nah, man, the indie scene's got some dogs. And then and Legacy is one of those dogs. So apparently Shawn Legacy, one of his gimmicks, he's like Werewolf Ed Edwards Larson.
Maybe.
Yeah. And then our Manimal. And Ashanti's like, you know what? Smoke both you guys. And then Ricky Saints is like, oh, whoa, what? Huh? I want to see that. I want to see you guys go at it. And he's like, I'm going to talk to Ava. How about this? I'm not going to, try to keep people down. He's like, the winner of you two guys, Javon, you can see me on the other side of the battlegrounds. And then they're like, okay, good.
Yeah.
So,
match booked.
Yeah. Match booked. Good job, Ricky Saints. Match booked.
We had Sean Spears maybe kind of make his pitch to Briggs, even though if this is a pitch, he needs a better one. So Hank and Taker talking to Briggs, and they're like, we feel so bad for you because Inamura left. And Briggs says, I didn't want Inamura to leave. He says, I got pissed that we kept losing, but I wish I didn't push Inamura away. So Hank and Tank's like, hey, buddy, we're there for you. Spears steps in and says, Briggs, maybe when it comes to relationships, you're the one that's the problem.
Yeesh.
And Briggs says, I don't need your advice.
I don't need your advice, man. I miss Inamura.
It's his friend.
Chase U. That's my friend. Chase U, Kale and Uriah, you talk to Ava backstage. They're like, all right, man, it's time to get the ball rolling. We're trying to put Chase U back on the map. You know what we're talking about, right? And Ava's like, I don't think I do. And then they're like, yeah, we want a match. And she's like, okay, you can have your first tag match. And then Andre Chase walks in and Ava says, your opponents are OTM. And I think, didn't we see like a OTM promo,
There
like
was
a
video
film
package,
thing?
Yeah, there's a video package.
They're just
for them earlier in
wandering
the
around
show.
a bunch of iPhone footage. They didn't really need to like get some ND filters because the sky is always blown out to hell.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anyways, also, best segment of the night was Bully Ray, Bubba Ray Dudley, and The Undertaker talking to Tyra and Xena from LFG because it's down to them for this NXT contract. And Bully's like, listen, he's got that bright pink shirt on, nice dress shirt. And he's like, listen, you've earned the right to wrestle in the finals of LFG, but only one of you gets the contract to get the opportunity to fight and entertain in the best women's division of the business. But remember, whoever wins is going to have a target on your back. And then Izzy Dame and Nikita Lyons step in. Be like, good luck lasting in the locker room. And then Lash Legend and Lola Vice step in next. And Lash is like, if you guys think you're coming from my spot, you wish you can compete in another season of LFG. Undertaker's just been standing there the whole time. Finally,
he hasn't said anything.
He says, I'm just going to tell you this now. Whoever wins in the finals, you really have your work cut out for you. This is the extent of Undertaker's time in LFG, too. It's wisdom to this level. It's like, fortune cookie type stuff, It's whatever, whatever you do, make sure it's good. Like, what? What does that even
Thanks
mean?
for the insight, Mark.
Make sure whatever happens, you give it your all. Okay, Mark.
Right.
Come on, man.
Great, inspiring words.
Really great here, man. Last Legend is so tall.
Yeah.
Like, I know she was standing a little bit in front of Undertaker, but she was like Taker size.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyways,
that was
what a rousing episode of NXT.
Yes.
And a rousing episode. AEW's been on it. AEW's on fire. NXT's on fire. Even LFG's on fire.
So much good wrestling for all of us to enjoy.
Everybody's eating good.
Yeah.
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 And on top of that, Wrestle Talk did a 180. They're doing AEW reviews again.
Wow.
Yeah. Look, everybody
Maybe
in
it
the
was last
content
night's Dynamite that led them to reconsider.
I think it was just like how much they were getting blasted on social media and in their own comments. Oh, my God. Yeah, dude. Anyway, so yeah, there's a lesson for us, man. We can't get rid of these AEW reviews.
No, of course not.
I don't know why you'd ever suggest that, Larson.
I would never suggest such
What? All right. B. York says, was there ever a good 24/7 title reign that gets overshadowed by all the garbage? Fuck, I don't know. I don't remember anything about that stuff.
When Shelton had it.
Sheldon had it in the Hurt Business, right?
Mm-hmm. Jerry Marquez says, not a question, but JR just announced on X he was diagnosed with colon cancer today. Let's keep him in our thoughts and prayers.
Oh, no.
That's send our best to JR.
Jeez. Let's see here. Oh, boy. Ryan Big Dog Hansen says, if you could make it happen, what male, female, and tag team would you swap between AEW and WWE?
Send Motor City Machine Guns to AEW.
Oh, man. Okay.
In exchange, is it supposed to be a trade or just you send one?
Send him for the Hurt Syndicate. Bring the Hurt Syndicate over.
All right.
Yeah, that's a fucking trade right there, man. Oh my God. That's huge.
That's massive.
All right, one woman. Natalia for Tony Storm.
I'm not sure that's exactly a fair deal there, Steve.
Okay, how about this? Mercedes for I need somebody in WWE. Mercedes for Tiffany Stratton.
All right. And then men's wrestlers?
I'm a dude.
Let's do Finn Balor goes to AEW in exchange for who, Steve?
Boy, somebody put me on blast in the comments. Said, is Steve just joking or ignorant? Because Finn Balor totally be a world champion in AEW if he went there. I'm like, where? What? How? Let's say he signed last summer, 2024. Was he going to dethrone Swerve?
Guess what? Darby still would have beat Mox, not Prince Devitt.
He's going to dethrone Mox. He's going to dethrone Danielson.
No, they probably feed him the Mox in the way to Darby beating him.
Yep. When is he? And you still got Ospreay, probably another Hangman run, probably another Swerve run,
yeah.
MJF run.
Yep.
Okada.
Yep.
Kenny might have a run.
Yeah.
Please. Look, man, I love Devitt. I love Fergal. I love Finn Balor. But let's not act like he'd be world champion in AEW.
No. Anyways, who he sending from AEW WB in exchange for Prince Devitt, Steve?
Okay. Oh, man. So I got to find somebody in AEW kind of comparable.
Claudio.
Yeah, if Triple H really, yeah, I could see. Yeah, Claudio would be good. Claudio would be good. I had a funny one on the tip of my tongue, and then I lost it because you said Claudio. It's all good.
You lost it. Future Shock here said, would have been cool if Michael Cole turned up.
Oh, sorry. Brody for Finn.
Okay.
Brody King.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Future Shock would have been cool if Michael Cole turned on Pat, became heel announcer, sitting next to face announcer Pat going forward. No.
Bring it back. Coal miners.
No.
He's in the coal mine.
No.
Bring it back.
No.
Heck yeah, man.
No way.
Yes way. G Bonker says, should WWE hire an indie wrestler to go under the mask as Grande Americano for when they inevitably reveal his identity? Yeah, they should do like you see him in the same time. Like, because they did that once in the first thing they did.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I say put him in the same place, same time, yeah.
It'd be great if they somehow do a Chad Gable versus El Grande Americano match and Chad Gable unmasked El Grande Americano, but it's still Chad Gable under the mask.
But it's like AI Chad Gable, so like the face is kind of wonky and weird. I was doing something crazy. Yeah. Here's the thing. Nobody on the indies looks like Chad Gable. That guy's in phenomenal. Yeah. He's in WWE shape.
Yeah. Square root of -1 says, hot take, Jon Moxley is the MVP of AEW. Whenever Khan has some issues due to injuries or Cody or Punk leaving, Mox has stepped up to be the glue holding AEW together. Mox is Mr. Reliable.
Mox
if that's your
used
definition
to be
of most valuable performer, then so be it, but he is reliable.
Mox used to be like the glue. Now it's Swerve.
Yeah, Swerve.
You can put Swerve in any spot. Win, lose. It's like Swerve and Hangman. You can put him in any spot, win or lose, and they'll be fine.
Yep.
I don't think Mox is that guy anymore.
Nope.
Let's see here.
This one's easy. Sorry, go ahead.
Dead Scene says, who do you see being the biggest name to be called up from this generation of NXT? Oh, dude, probably Stephanie Vaquer. Probably Stephanie.
Yeah. Sebastian Garcia says, which wrestling gimmick would make the best lead in a grunge band? Is Stephen Flo.
Stephen Flo.
That's so obvious.
It's his name.
It's
his name. Jesse Halsey is speaking of grunge. Which Nirvana album is your favorite?
In Utero.
In Utero.
Matt Linder says, favorite band named after a city, state, country, or continent?
My actual favorite band named after any of those things? Off the top of my head, probably Chicago. I think I like their output more than any of the other location-based bands.
All right.
I think. Is Nirvana a place?
It's a state of being, is it not?
Has it ever been depicted as a place?
Maybe.
But like actual existing ones, right now I'm thinking Chicago. Well, you got something? No, that's a song, not a band. Toto was the band. Toto did Africa, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You got.
I guess it's a situation where,
Alabama.
like, does it have to be? Could it be a fictional geographic location?
You got America. What are you thinking?
Yeah. There's Boards of Canada.
Oh, I don't know that.
There's hold on, I was looking through Spotify to try to find. I'd have to think about that one. Chicago would not be my answer.
Well, think about it now. You don't have an answer then.
I want to give a
Hard
good
for
answer.
you to say, I'm sorry.
I didn't know you were a huge Chicago fan.
I'm not. But the list is really small in terms of location-based bands.
Yeah.
Is my point. Ain't no band called California. Band called New Jersey.
There's
Texas.
an album called
Texas?
New Jersey.
There's no band called Texas. I mean, I'm sure that all these names are bands, but like none that are prominent that I know of.
There you go. Wait. Nope, that's not what I wanted. I was trying to find a list of bands.
Named after places.
Yeah.
London. Is there a band named London? New York.
Like New York Dolls. Mm-mm. All right, here's some options for you.
Okay.
Oh, the E Street Band. Bruce Springsteen's band. So you can say Bruce Springsteen, the E Street Band.
That doesn't
All right.
really.
Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're, you know.
Oh, this is my answer. Little River Band.
Yeah, you like the Little River Band. That was like one of your dad's favorites, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good answer. That's a good answer right there. I'm assuming Little River's a real thing.
I would guess so.
Is it an Appalachia? It sounds like an Appalachia thing.
They're from Australia.
A long way away from Appalachia, then. All right, there you go. Oh, that made me laugh. Ignacio says, what takes you out of a film more? Bad visuals or bad dialogue? He says, my son was watching Titanic with his mom and he said, it looks great, but the writing took him out of it. Yeah, that was my take on that movie too.
Yeah, no, I can look past bad dialogue. Takes me out of the movie, I think, more than just about anything else. Like if it's a really well written movie, but it's filmed on like a super small budget, so the visuals aren't the best. I can look past that if
that doesn't matter at all. If
performances are good.
Yeah. If it's like visually inept, then that might bother me. Like if it's completely inept, but it's like you don't see very many of those, you know. So yeah, bad dialogue. Bad dialogue destroys a movie. Bad visuals is kind of like, okay, well, what exactly do you mean? Like, is it bad green screen where you're not paying attention to the dialogue?
Dude, we've been watching this season of Last of Us. There is some god-awful green screen work in this season. It's terrible.
That's the one you were talking about where there was like one good episode in the first 4.
Yeah.
Bro, I did not expect Gemstones to start as hard as it did.
Yeah. That
first episode was... I want an entire series with Bradley Cooper. Because holy shit. We just watched the second one last night. Yeah, that show is so good.
Just wait to get to episode 4, Steve.
I know.
Die Hard Homer asked, based on Ospreay's recent comments, is there anything or anyone WWE does better? They do production better.
Oh my God, they do production better. They do soap opera better. Which soap opera, and I'm not even saying that as a bad thing. Like you need soap opera. Soap opera is the thing that people tune in for.
Cameron Bortolazzo says, a couple months ago, you guys said Tavion Heights could be a major player. Now that Miles Bourne is getting the opportunity, do you see him having the same potential as Tavion?
If I had to bet money on who'd be further ahead in their career in 5 years, I'd probably put my money on Miles. Probably because I think he's further along. And I think I might have just gotten there this week. But no, he's been there, though. He's got the comedic timing. He's got everything. I haven't seen some of the other character stuff in Tavion because they haven't explored that.
Yeah.
But you can tell that the raw building blocks are probably there.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a dynamic athlete. Tavion is.
He is.
In a way few people are in wrestling.
But he might be a dog shit promo. I don't know.
Yeah, he hasn't had the opportunity to stand in the ring and cut a 5-minute promo.
Yeah, so
like
I'd say
the little
right
backstage
now,
stuff, he does fine. He's good.
Yeah,
in those.
he does. Yeah. But is he going to have like that? Because Miles has got. I mean, yeah, you do have to sort of put aside the fact that like he has very Randy Orton coded, you know. But and I don't know if they're going to change that at all.
Yeah, I know.
Because it is very like especially he puts on the trunks, like even his body kind of looks like early Randy Orton, you know.
Yeah,
but whether or not they're
very similar too.
Yeah, I know it is.
The drop kick, the power slam.
Yeah. Anyways, go ahead.
Here, I got one here. This is a good one. Chavon says, if he had one ticket to go to one of these concerts, which one would it be? Peak Michael Jackson during a Thriller tour, or peak Prince during a Purple Rain tour?
Prince.
Yeah, Prince.
I was don't get me wrong, when I was a kid, I was a huge Michael Jackson fan. Just a massive Michael Jackson fan, like everybody else was. Now that I'm older, though, Prince is much more impressive. Much more impressive.
He played like pretty much all the instruments on all those records. Produced
and all the songs that he wrote and didn't perform himself or didn't record himself, rather.
Yeah.
Like, dude, no, Prince is the man.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I would have loved to have gone to a Prince concert. Anyways, that's going to do it for the show today. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate it. Till next time, we'll see you guys around.
Goodbye.